Just wanna make you feel good.
Hey everybody, Brandon Shaga here for the final week of Java 2. Gonna go over my app really quick, and then I'll answer the questions and go over. I think it wants to show something in the code. So here is my application. So my two action items are up there, and then my preferences is in the little drawer or whatever that's called. So if I click Get Streams and then I click the search icon, the little dialog box will pop up and I can type in League, and I hit search, and then all the League of Legends streams come up. For my About page, this is my dynamic fragment. All it is just a fragment with a clock and this text on it. Not too interesting, but it works. So, and then for my preferences, you can kind of see on the main screen there, it says username testing. If I go in here and I change this to test and I hit save, you can see it changes to test. And just to kind of, I know it wants us to show something in the preferences, so I'll show you where it's created. So right here is my preferences manager being created, and then my editor. And then I checked to see if the string's empty, which it wasn't. It was testing, so it didn't hit this at all. Otherwise, it sets it to what the current one is. And then, just to kind of show that it's not just renaming that field, but it's actually saving the preferences. If I go down here to my alert, here it pulls the two strings, so the username and the password, and then I set them to edit, and then here is where I set them with the preferences. So this is my main fragment, and then this is a function inside of it called set username, so I pass in the string, and then in the fragment here, right here, I set the username text. So that's so I could see it actually updating without having to exit the app. One thing, let me see. Oh, the differences between XML and dynamic. I think that's what it wants. Yeah, so XML fragments, let me go to my main layout here. I'll kind of explain it. So this is my fragment that I attached to the main layout. So when you first see the app, you see the two buttons and the list view. So this is how you implement one with XML. You can assign an ID to it, you can set heights and widths, and pretty much anything else that you can do some form of layout in the Android. And then to call it, you can do a find fragment by ID, which is right here. So here's my fragment manager. I check to see if it's null. If it is, I do find fragment by ID, which is the ID of the fragment. And then dynamically, so this is my dynamic layout for my fragment. So this is just a fragment by itself. In the XML, it just has those two things, and it's a linear layout. So this isn't actually attached to any other layout. What I do with this one is I use my fragment manager up there. I create a new instance of the fragment, and I just named it dynamic. And then I use the manager to begin a transaction. And then this command right here replaces the current fragment with this fragment, the dynamic, on this layout. And then I add it to the backstack, so that lets me go into the fragment and then press back, and it doesn't close the app, it just goes back to the main screen, and then you commit the transaction to finalize it. So that was pretty easy to figure out. The fields I had for the shared preferences were just the username and password, just like in the PowerPoint. And then if I had more time, I would definitely try to fix my horizontal, because as you can kind of see, it doesn't retain any data. It puts the fragments there, but it doesn't do any data retention. And I have the in the onCreate, I have the set retain instance to true, which is right here, but it still doesn't do it for some reason. So I would definitely like to try to get that figured out to see what is going on with it. And then for my thoughts on the course, I really enjoyed this course a lot. I learned a lot. Definitely learning about fragments was huge, because I actually like Android Studio a lot more than ADT. Mostly because it just has a lot, like the finishing, so when you type like listener, it kind of auto starts to do it, and I think it's a lot more smarter than the one for ADT. But the big thing is that they only use fragments in that. So at first I didn't really know what I was doing because I didn't know what a fragment was, and I tried Googling, and it was really difficult to figure out in Java 1. So I switched over to ADT, and I still like it a lot because I've used Eclipse for Java in the past and for PHP for what I do at work. But I definitely want to start using Android Studio a lot more now that I understand fragments better. So yeah, that's my video. I hope you guys like it, and I'll see you in the next course. Thanks a lot.